All right, welcome back to the E-Team Sponsor podcast. I'm Sean Connors, CEO with E-Team Sponsor. Pleasure to be joined today with two people that are going to help us talk everything Catholic high schools across the country and how they're leading through this time. First, Larry Furey. Larry is leading the advancement team over at Xaverian Brothers High School just outside of Boston, Massachusetts. He's been with Xaverian Brothers since 1995, on and off a couple different times, but he's been back there here for the last 8 years. And then also Larry is leading Partners in Mission, the largest Catholic high school professional development organization in the country, proud partner of E-Team Sponsor, and E-Team Sponsor being a proud partner of Partners in Mission. And Larry, want to thank you very much for hopping on today and being a part of the podcast.
Sean, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
You got it. And then we're also joined today by MICAH O'Connor. MICAH is a principal over at Our Lady of Fatima in Huntington, West Virginia. She's now finishing up her second year as principal. And MICAH, we want to welcome you to the podcast as well.
Thank you, Sean. I'm happy to be here.
All right, awesome. Well, hey, let's just jump right in. Wow, unprecedented times. Larry, talk to us. How are things going with Xaverian Brothers and the advancement department, and then also maybe fill us in on how things are going with Partners in Mission.
Sure. Thanks, Sean. Yeah, I mean, these are unprecedented times for sure. Uncharted waters. We're all trying to still figure things out, and what the future looks like. Challenging as a father of a college sophomore who was over in Italy for her second semester and had to come home right before things got really bad in Italy. And then I've got a junior high school son, Tim, both at home now learning remotely. So I know they miss their friends. I know they miss the routine of college and high school. So I'm sure many listeners are in that same category. So you're trying to be a good, parent and help them through this, understand why this is happening. But I feel bad for, both high school seniors here at Xaverian and across the country, as well as college seniors and 8th grade seniors who are going to miss out on, important moments in their life. And hopefully our schools can, do the best we can to make that experience as an 8th grader or 12th grader or college, senior the best they can. I know we had a webinar last week where we had, 1,300 people on it from all across the country looking for ideas as far as honoring 8th graders and seniors. A lot of good ideas were shared there. So we're trying to figure things out, obviously at all of our schools, but from everything I hear from the Catholic schools that we work with, I mean, many of our schools, most of our schools have hit the ball out of the park in terms of being able to get their remote learning up and running, dedicated teachers, committed parents, enthusiastic students who want to learn. So I think if there's any silver lining in this crisis that we're in, it's I think parents, both our current parents, will realize even more the investment that they're making in their sons and daughters' education and how Catholic schools have been able to deliver. And I hope it's an opportunity for Catholic schools to perhaps convince those parents that are on the other side of the fence to look at how we've responded as a Catholic community to be able to really keep the education going. I'm sure MICAH can talk more about that as a frontline principal. But every day I hear stories across the country from Catholic schools and, great stories being covered in the press about just the job they're doing and how satisfied, parents are that, Catholic schools have really done an awesome job of creating this remote, learning environment. And again, I think it's going to be good for us going forward to use it as a recruiting tool for next year and the years beyond.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. It's great to hear that there's been such a positive response to the adversity that's out there. And Larry, I know you definitely have your finger on the pulse, not only in your your own physical backyard, but also with the Catholic schools across the country. So thanks for the update there. Micah, how about yourself? How are things in Huntington, and how are things specifically at Our Lady of Fatima?
Well, I want to add to what Larry said too about the silver lining. And I was just talking to one of my teachers the other day about, in the middle of all this crisis, there has been a silver lining. And that has been just the way we've all come together. And here at Fatima, we always call ourselves the Fatima family. And we are like a family. We're a small Catholic school. We're pre-K through 8th grade, but we are a small school. And it is much like a family. It has brought us together even closer, the faculty, the staff, and the parents. Everyone has been so very supportive of the online learning process and the different platforms that my teachers are utilizing during this crisis. They have really stepped out of their shell and have learned firsthand how to utilize these different platforms with the students. The students have been great as well. I mean, everyone has just come together, the families, teachers, students. My parish, my priest has been very supportive. We've had a good experience, even though it's been a rough time for everyone. The online experience has been very positive and a lot of positive feedback.
Awesome to hear. Yeah, it seems like the sense of community, the rallying around from top down through the schools, parents, the community, seems like everyone is definitely rallying around that, and that's great to hear. Larry, we'll circle back with you on this one. Specifically, how has the current events changed the way Catholic schools are looking at this time of year? The spring typically is a time where it's wrapping up annual funds and looking at maybe local community events, the spring galas and such. What's happening nationally with the Catholic schools and at this time of year wrapping up their annual funds?
Well, you mentioned, two important revenue streams, Sean. One are certainly special events, and it's heavy gala season. Some schools were fortunate to get it right before, kind of the meltdown in March. We had a school, Nerix Hall in St. Louis, had their auction on Saturday night, February 29th. Another school had theirs on Saturday, March 7th, and then Zavarian Brothers, we had ours scheduled for Saturday, March 14th. We were honoring our former headmaster who just left us to become the Superior General for the Zavarian Brothers. And, the Tuesday before, the governor, pretty much put in place regulations around, gatherings. So we're hoping to reschedule until the fall, although now I'm not sure even that's going to be possible. We'll have to see, but we're hoping to get in there. I know a lot of schools who had galas pivoted to doing virtual, gatherings, virtual auctions. And I know each team sponsor is a player in that lane, which is great. And I heard, that a lot of schools have been successful with their virtual auctions. In fact, some have made more money virtually than they would have had made had they had it in person because of, expenses were very low in terms of catering and food cost and entertainment and stuff like that. So it doesn't beat getting together as a community. So I think they miss that piece as far as the gathering piece. But from a budget standpoint, I know a lot of presidents are, happy with what the net was of their events this year, particularly their galas or their auctions. And then you mentioned the annual fund, which is obviously the whole cornerstone of any successful advancement program is the annual fund. And I think there's been some shock and awe, around the impact of this in March and even in April. But in my conversations just in the last week with high school presidents, I see there's been a shift now towards moving back towards annual fund solicitations, between now and June 30th, in part because, the mission still matters. The mission still has to go on, and faculty and staff have to be paid, and our programs that require resources still need support. And I think the recognition that even in times of crisis, Catholic school supporters tend to give, and oftentimes they give more in times of crisis. So we had a story where a high school in Indianapolis, Indiana, just 3 weeks ago, a donor walked in the door with $1 million check and said to the president of the high school, "You need this more than I do." You know, and then 2 days later, another donor walked in with a $100,000 check.
Wow.
We had another story of a school we're working with in Cleveland where they called one of their major donors in Chicago, and the gentleman asked, "What you need? What do I need? What can I do for the school?" And the president responded, "Well, you know, we can use $3 to $4 million." And he said, "Great, you'll have a $4 million check, you know, this week from me." So,
Incredible.
you know, this crisis has impacted all of us differently. You know, certainly financially, it's been impacted. You know, some people very differently, but others in this environment, you know, are doing well depending on what their profession or their business is. But others, you know, realize that life is short and I can't take it with me. So why not help, you know, those nonprofits that, you know, are changing lives, and our Catholic schools are doing that every day. So, you know, it's going to be challenging, obviously, going forward. But our advice to our clients, Sean, is, you know, you've got to, you can't shut down the fundraising machine. You've got to, you know, complete the annual fund. There are still, you know, tuition assistance dollars. In fact, more are needed now than ever before. You know, our programs still have to go on. But I think everything you do, you need to, you know, position it around acknowledging the crisis that we're in now and how this affects different people in different ways. So
Sure.
if you can't make that $1,000 gift this year, we hope maybe you'll consider a $500 or $250 gift. But the worst thing we can do as schools is shut down or suspend, you know, the fundraising apparatus, particularly the annual fund in these closing weeks of April, May, and June, because Fidelity, you know, the charitable arm of Fidelity Investments did a study, and I believe, you know, when they talk to people who have donor advised funds, these are funds that are set up by
Sure.
people that have a charitable intent to them. I believe it was 75% of those that were surveyed had responded that they're going to give the same, if not more, this year to their favorite charities than they did in previous years. So that's a good sign for all of us.
That's great. That is great. That's great insight right there, Larry. Fantastic. Donor advised funds, 75% are going to give the same or more, considering the circumstances. That's huge. And
so our advice is don't stop asking. I mean, continue to tell the story, demonstrate that the mission matters. But in these times, you know, people tend to respond even better than they have before when we can tell the right story. And I think our Catholic schools have incredible stories to tell, as evidenced by the work that our faculty are doing and our parents are doing in terms of supporting the, you know, the virtual learning that's taking place at, you know, millions of homes across the country.
Well said. Well said. Yeah, the need is still there, and we've got about another 2.5 months before the academic year closes out. So that's great advice there, Larry.
And the other thing, Sean, is just, you know, the one-day giving programs that are a big part of annual funds. Again, you know, our advice to our schools that we work with is, you know, don't back down. You know, if you haven't had a one-day giving day in the past, you know, plan one for May or June. Certainly, E-Team Sponsor is a good platform to launch.
Thank you.
You know, I know a lot of schools are doing one on May 20th, which is a Wednesday, in honor of the class of 2020. So make your gift on May 20th and honor the 8th grade graduating class of Our Lady of Fatima School in Huntington, West Virginia, for instance. But, you know, 5/20, 2020, make a gift of $20.20 or $200.20. So there's different ways that you could creatively be successful in a one-day giving program or a 24-hour. You know, we're doing ours on May 20th. It's going to be for 20 hours and 20 minutes, but all in honor of the class of 2020, whether it be 8th graders or whether it be high school. We can all, you know, come together on May 20th, for instance, to do something like that.
That's a great piece of insight there, Larry. I love the idea. I love the 2020. I love the idea around the $20 gift on the 20th. That is fantastic.
Right.
Took a few notes on that one for sure. That is great. Great resource for our listeners. MICAH, how about you? How about, on campus? How are you looking at this through the principal lens?
We are also going to do a giving day as well. We're doing one day of giving. Ours is going to be on May the 5th. And that is our online campaign that we are doing to try to, replenish the funds that we've lost and not being able to have our fundraisers. The crisis affected us in the middle of Lent, and it affected our fish dinners that we were having, which was one of our major fundraisers. Also this Saturday would have been our reverse raffle, which is another large fundraiser that we have. So there was a lot of money that we were hoping to receive from the profits on that, and that we have had to cancel. We have not rescheduled, but we're not really sure what's going to take place. So we just have postponed or just canceled it for now and waiting to see what's going to happen. And, therefore we don't know if we're going to reschedule that or not, but we are having the one day of giving on May the 5th. As Larry said, we have definitely seen an impact on this with our financial issues at school. Fortunately, we've been able to continue paying our teachers and our staff. We've been able to, manage our bills, but we've definitely seen an impact on this, and it's hurting us. It's hurting everyone. Our school right now, we're in the middle of enrollment for the next school year. And we have people that are in this area. We have people who are furloughed or that are been put back to part-time, and it's difficult. They're struggling, and they're worrying about next year tuition. So we're seeing this impact, across the board with our families, with our school, with our enrollment. It's difficult, but we're looking at ways to help with that. And certainly the day of giving is one way that we're going to try and increase our funds. Things have been down a little bit with the giving. Our annual fund is down as well, but we're looking at different ways to increase this and to help our school succeed and move towards the future.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like at least for the time being, you've got some plans that you're going to be taking action with the one day of giving. I really want to hear more about this reverse raffle. That sounds
yes.
Okay. That sounds
okay. Well, that was going to be really fun, and I was looking forward to it. It was called A Night at the Movies, and you would come dressed as your favorite movie character. And it's kind of like a gala, like Larry was talking about, but ours is called a reverse raffle. So you buy the ticket for the reverse raffle, and you come. You can dress up, or you don't have to dress up. And of course, you always have food and an open bar. So and dancing with a DJ. We would have a photo booth as well with little props. And the reverse raffle itself is the tickets are drawn out, and whatever number is on your ticket.
You got one.
Here's an example.
There you go.
Okay.
I love it.
So we would take this little piece right here, and we put them in like these little pill bottles, and you pull it out, and the first ticket, the first number, like this one's number 3, they would be out. Unless you buy insurance. And if you buy insurance, you get 2 chances. So this one would go back in. But then the next time it's pulled, you're totally out. So it's the last ticket drawn of the evening that wins the big money.
Very cool.
We have different levels. There's $100 winnings. There's $250, but the big money, is a couple $1,000. So
I love it.
It's a good fundraiser, and we typically raise about $25,000 on that fundraiser. So we're not going to have that this year.
Yeah, not this year, but hopefully in the future. Hopefully that's something to look forward to.
And hopefully our day of giving that we're preparing for will help us out with that. But it's a good time. We're going to miss having a lot of fun, and but we look forward to doing it again next year.
Good. Well, thanks for the insight on that. I think again, with a focus on the future and looking at, hey, there's opportunities down the road. That might be something too that our listeners can take, and if they've thought about doing, something in terms of special events, maybe they've never done it before. This is, a new way of looking at it, a reverse raffle, pretty cool there. So thanks for offering that up. Kind of moving into some of the things that we like to have our guests share with our listeners is talk specifically about sharing your story. So sharing your story in terms of what opportunities, Larry, from your standpoint, what opportunities do you see advancement professionals like yourselves? What opportunities do you find now because of what's taken place in the last 30 days? So with a focus on the future, looking at some positive opportunities in the future, what have you identified as future opportunities for people in advancement?
Well, I think one, it's an opportunity for us to get even closer to our donors and our prospects. In this phase where there's not a lot of on-campus or off-campus reunions or events going on, we find that most of our advancement staffs have a lot of time on their hands. And certainly, webinars have been a big part of their weeks and the professional development side, which is great. But it's also time professionally and even personally in our own lives, an opportunity to reconnect with people and cement even further, the relationships that we have with our donors and with, people that we want to become our donors, as well as an opportunity to cement and reestablish, if you will, or reconnect with, family and friends that for one reason or another you've drifted away from. So I think, these times where we have a lot of time on our hands gives an opportunity professionally, Sean, to to connect and just touch base and call in and see how, your families are doing, see how some of your alumni are doing, see how some of your grandparents are doing. I think, I tell schools all the time that how we respond to them in this crisis, they'll always remember. It's like when you go to a restaurant for the first time and have a good meal, you always do too. You go back and you tell everybody else.
Sure.
And I think, what we do in this crisis as a school community, I think will define us in terms of those relationships for months and years to come, because I think people will remember, the calls that we made or the emails that were sent or the outreach that was done. And I know schools across the country, both elementary schools as well as high schools, are doing some really creative things. I mean, in terms of just delivering programming, now virtually, and doing a lot of community service work, with first responders. Schools are packaging lunches and dinners for first responders. So I think it's a moment for Catholic schools again to shine and to differentiate ourselves and really show that we are unique communities. But I think, the best opportunity we have is to cement those relationships that are already in place and potentially begin to reestablish some new ones for the school and as well as personally.
That's great. Yeah, it seems to right now relationships are on the forefront of everyone's minds, and for advancement professionals, that's great insight from Larry. MICAH, in terms of from a principal's lens, what opportunities do you recognize at this time, specifically for the school or for high school principal or K through 8 or high school principals across the country? What opportunities do you see moving forward?
I definitely have seen some opportunities for us to grow together more as a family. Like I said, we always call ourselves a FATIMA family, but we get caught up in our day-to-day routine, even as a principal, as a teacher. There are days that I don't get to move around the school and visit with each student. There are days that even the teachers in the classroom don't get that one-on-one with their students. I have seen many of my faculty just go out of their way to make sure that they, give that special attention to each student. For example, I have several teachers who will hand deliver items to their students or just go to their home. I went with one of my teachers to visit some students in the classroom, and we just did a little drive-by, and we got out of the car, and from our social distance, we waved, took pictures. And of course, we have our social media accounts, and we post pictures daily of what the students are doing. And they get so excited to send us, different pictures of them working from home and art projects that they make from home, or science experiments that they're doing, through Zoom with their teachers. I had my kindergarten teacher was doing a science experiment with her students today, and through Zoom. And it's very exciting to see that because they're just really getting this hands-on at home still. And, seeing their teachers live and through, video is really different for them. So it's all a new learning platform that they definitely are going to remember in years to come, because it's just, we've never used Zoom with our students before until now. And it's not the only one we're using. There's been so many others. They're making lots of videos, sending them in different platforms. Like Flipgrid is one that the students will, like for example, health and PE, they will do exercises, video themselves on this Flipgrid, and then submit it to their PE teacher. And it's just, all of it is really awesome to see the students taking part in it, and they catch on so quickly to these new platforms. But I do believe that it has helped us to really grow and personalize that learning experience for each child. And even for the parents, because many of the parents are right there with their kids. They're home too. So they are getting to see firsthand what their students or what their children are learning during this time. And I believe it is definitely something we have not experienced before, and that they will always remember this. And I certainly believe that they will remember how their teachers have gone above and beyond to make sure that they are provided, an excellent Catholic education during this process.
Awesome. That's great feedback. It's telling. Both of you have mentioned this often, that really it's been the one-to-one relationship aspect, whether it's teacher to student, or in case of showing up to go visit some students, the one-on-one, leveraging technology opportunities that are there now. I love the science experiment. That's great. Kids being able to enjoy that. That's great insight. One of the things that we've been talking to a lot of our guests about too is engaging them and understanding how are they leading right now. So, take a step back, understand, okay, you're both on a campus, you're at a high school, you're at a K-8. What is it that you're doing from a leadership perspective? And so our question is, what does leadership mean to you, and how are you choosing to lead now? And whoever wants to go first. Yeah, whoever wants to go first, I'll leave it open.
Yeah, I think, communication is critically important now more than ever, Sean. I think collaboration, is important, and building ownership, leading by example, both in terms of my role here at Xaverian Brothers High School, the team we have here, as well as, my role, with Partners in Mission. We meet every Friday as a team. Partners in Mission does virtually at 3 o'clock every Friday. We've had a lot of fun with it. We've really, I think, have come together and are even closer than we already were. And from having been one of our strategic partners for many years, what that bond looks like. And MICAH, obviously, as a graduate of our program in Boston, knows what that looks like. It's all about camaraderie. So I think we've gotten even closer through this crisis. Certainly in my family, we've gotten closer, more family dinners than ever before, I think. And then certainly my role here at Xaverian is just collaborative and communication. And we meet 3 times a week virtually, and helping set priorities, and, jumping in where someone else needs some help, making sure that everyone knows we're available, and can help in those times of that help is needed.
That's great. Communication is key. I like that. Great. MICAH, how about yourself? Leadership, what does it mean to you, and how are you leading right now?
I think that being a leader is definitely a position that helps you to positively impact other individuals or situations like we are in right now, and also my organization as a school. It's about representing and supporting the greater good of our school and what we are here for, which is to promote Catholic education for the students. It's about supporting, each other and moving forward in circumstances that have been unforeseen. We have a sense of equity in dealing with our families and our students and our community. I feel that in my position, I offer guidance to my teachers and my staff, and inspire them and help them to have the confidence that they need to move forward with the online learning platforms. It was intimidating at first to many of them. It's something they have never done before. So as a leader, I try to support them and inspire them as they continue to do this and as we move forward. I just feel like being a leader is a way for me to turn our vision into a reality. And right now it's difficult because we're faced with so many, unforeseen circumstances, but that we're doing it. And I just feel like the support that's there from leaders is very impactful to our families and to our students and to our staff.
I like that. Leadership is impact. That's a great term there. As we look to go through kind of the last 10 minutes or so, we'll keep a focus on the future. One of the, like I said at the beginning before we started recording, the intent for us putting together this podcast is really just to be a resource, get as much great insight from thought leaders and people that are out there, walking a mile in your shoes, if you will, and hearing from folks like yourselves as to what's working, and again keeping an eye on the future. So what things are going to look like down the road. Obviously nobody has a crystal ball, but hey, how are you planning for the future? So a couple questions for you as we look here to wrap up. I'll start with you, Larry. What's one of the things that you're looking forward to the most once we do get back to students and yourselves being back on campus?
I think just, the sense of community that Catholic schools enjoy is the camaraderie, the coming together, especially in a faith environment that we have in Catholic schools, to celebrate the Eucharist as a community, to be together with your colleagues, and to see the students, that certainly bring life to the school. I'm sitting now here in my office at Xaverian Brothers High School. It's, silent. I'm the only one in the building. And school's not designed for that way. So I think I look most forward to just having the kids back here and just hearing the bells and announcements and morning prayer and afternoon prayer and, the activities that come after school with baseball and track and the evening events, the interaction with parents at meetings and gatherings, social events. I think that's the big part I'm looking forward to, at Xaverian, Sean, truthfully. I think for, Partners in Mission, what I miss the most, is the visits that we make to our schools. We're traveling most weeks visiting both the Catholic elementary schools and the Catholic high schools that we're privileged to call our Partners in Mission. And I miss that. It's nice to sleep in your own bed every night and wake up in your own bed, but there's also a part that I miss from just the interaction of visiting schools and while the Zoom meetings are great and productive and we're getting a lot done with all of our schools and we haven't missed a beat at all with the delivery of our services, I miss the interaction with our clients face to face, and certainly experiencing how different every Catholic school is in the country. There's no two that are the same in terms of the culture, the climate, the whole atmosphere. So I'm looking forward to traveling back and visiting with schools, on their turf versus, the Zoom meetings.
Great. MICAH, how about yourself?
Well, I'm definitely missing my students and my faculty. We are a family here, and when those students come in the morning, I stand at the front door and greet every one of them, and I miss those hugs that they give me. I miss when my little kindergarten students come down the hallway and the bathroom is right outside my door, and they look back to see if their teacher's watching, and then they run in here and give me a hug because they know they're not supposed to come in. But I love it, and I always tell them to come on in. And I just miss that. I miss talking to my teachers and hearing about what's going on in their lives. I miss all the little stories. You don't realize, how fortunate you are to have these relationships until they're not there. And I've been at this school every day since we have been out by myself, my custodian coming in and cleaning. And by the way, kudos to him because he has worked so hard at keeping the school clean while they've been gone. And it's been lonely. I bring my puppy with me every day and he keeps me company. And other than that, my bookkeeper comes in and pays bills once a week. But it's really been lonely. And I've realized how fortunate I am to have my friends and my family too, and my school family, the students, the teachers that I see every day. And we do take that for granted because we get in a routine and we forget these people are so important to us and important to our lives. And I'll be glad when we can come back to seeing each other face to face and having those actual live conversations, not, via Zoom or, any online platforms. They're great. They're a useful tool, but nothing beats seeing someone in person and having that socialization. So I do miss that, and I'm looking forward to being able to do that again.
For all of us to get reconnected again, it's going to happen. And when it does, we're all going to be floating cloud nine. Last question for you both, Larry. What's the number one positive thing that you've seen in terms of the outcome of what we've just had to go through that you could see yourself and or Catholic institutions using or implementing moving forward for years to come?
I think it's the depth of support that's out there for Catholic schools, both parents who are committed to this for their children, Sean, and I think for those philanthropists who support us. I think, story after story, school after school, it's amazing to hear across the country from California to Florida to Maine, just the success that schools are having in terms of the philanthropic side, in terms of people that are just digging deep into their own resources to change lives and to keep the mission alive and thriving in Huntington, West Virginia, and Westwood, Massachusetts. It's pretty inspiring. And I think to see the dedication of administrators and teachers, both the elementary school teachers as well as the high school teachers, in terms of their ability to deliver, what some of us were not really accustomed to delivering, that is, the virtual education piece. So, that's been pretty awesome to watch as well.
Got it. In fact, I'll piggyback off that real quick, Larry. If there was one message that you could, if you could, and I won't make you do it in one word or one sentence, but one message that you would share with, we'll call it advancement professionals for Catholic schools across the country. If there's one thing that you could tell them, one takeaway from, for them, one message to leave them with today, what would it be?
I think this is our moment to shine and to be leaders. I mean, people respond to vision and they respond to leadership. And we all have great visions, but now here's our moment, Sean, to demonstrate what great leaders we are in different ways that we can, from, just all the different ways that MICAH talked about and I talked about. So I think this is our moment to really shine as schools and come out of here, stronger, not weaker. You know what I mean? Our ability now to deliver education virtually is can't even compare to what some of the public schools are struggling with. Certainly here in Boston. So this is our moment. This is our moment to shine even brighter. And the hope is that Catholic schools are going to be stronger, more viable, more sustainable, going forward than before this crisis started.
Very empowering message right there, Larry. Thank you very much. And then MICAH, for yourself, same thing. What's the one positive that you're going to take away and you think that could transcend years from what we've just had to experience?
Well, we've definitely been faced with adversity through all of this, and we have. It's been a challenge, but we have learned to overcome these challenges. We've been faced with, many changes, difficulty, new platforms. The students have been challenged. The families have been challenged. But I think the main thing that will come out of this is how supportive we've been of each other and how engaged everyone is. The communication has really developed between the families and the teachers and the students. We've just become more organized at delivering our learning to the students. And I feel that everyone is taking a part in this. And there's a lot of respect that has been developed between everyone. The teachers, they respect the parents and what they're doing at home with the students. The parents respect the teachers and what they are doing online with the students. And the students, I have really seen respect out of the students for their own learning. And they have, they've definitely been challenged with this. Everything is new, but they're coming out with flying colors. And this is definitely a move to the future as well. And I think that, we will continue to utilize the online platforms that we have right now. It's just, another way to incorporate something new into the teaching and the learning for the students. So I think it will definitely be a positive impact on our future. And we've learned quite a bit from this.
I'm going to unmute myself. There we go. Great insight. My dog was making some noise in the background, so I didn't want that to interrupt you there. That's great insight. Got some great notes here. This has been fantastic. Before we let you guys go, I was going to ask you just if there's anything else that you felt like maybe you wanted to share today, or anything else that you maybe had top of mind coming into today that we otherwise didn't get a chance to touch base on.
I would just say two things, Sean. I think, for the Catholic schools that are listening, this is, a moment to rely on partners like eTeam Sponsor and Partners in Mission and others that are out there that, complement the work that we're trying to do and help us move our missions forward. And two, I think this is not the moment to dial back on the investment we're making in people in our schools, particularly when it comes to both the advancement development side of the house, as well as the admissions, marketing, enrollment side. Sadly, I've heard of a story or two where schools have furloughed, all or part of the advancement staff or the enrollment staff. And in these moments, we need those type of people more than ever, because both of them are an important revenue stream to the school. It's like, cutting your sales force in half. You just don't do that. You know what I mean? And now there's a lot of people out there that sadly have been furloughed, that may be looking for part-time work or contract work, that have a skill set that will help complement, what we need in our schools in terms of marketing, retention, branding, social media, fundraising, relationship building. So, this is the time for us to invest in our people versus cutting back, because we're going to come out of this for sure. At some point we are as a country and as communities. And when that time comes, we need to be ready to go forward better than ever, stronger than ever. Great message.
Great message. Micah, how about yourself?
Well, I definitely think it is the time that we need to keep moving forward and planning for the future. It's not a time to sit back just because, we're faced with this crisis. We still need to realize that, we're going to continue and we're going to be here next year, and we've still got to market our school. And I'm looking into many opportunities to get our name out there and to market. Like I said, we're a small school around here, and there are many things we can do to advance our school and to promote the enrollment and to build. And I continue to look at those things every day, and we've got ideas of what we want to do next. And even this situation has helped us to come up with some new ideas that we've not tried before. So, that's a positive as well. But it's not a time to slack off from that. thinking, because people aren't going to donate or they're not going to do this. This is a time that gives everybody a time to really think about that and say, hey, yes, I want to support our Catholic education. I want to support our church and the students and, what's going on, because they're our future. The students, they are our future. So we need to continue to support them, and we need to, keep pushing through and finding ways to promote and market and build our enrollment.
Great. Yeah, I think the quote that comes to my mind after hearing both of you mention that is opportunities multiply as they are seized. And there's a lot of opportunities for schools to recognize and leverage at this time. And great message shared throughout the course of the time that we spent on the podcast here today. So Larry and Micah, I really appreciate you both coming on today. I think this has been there's some great lessons here and some very valuable information that we're going to share with Catholic schools across the country. And Larry, we can't wait for Partners in Mission to get going again in terms of the meetings in Boston over the summer. So looking forward to if and when that takes place. We're ready to be there and continue to support you both. But again, thank you for coming on to the podcast. We greatly appreciate it. And we'll look forward to catching up with you guys here down the road.
Anytime.
Thank you, Sean.
Back.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Micah.
Thank you, Larry.
Bye.